Dubai Television, it's the window to the world of Dubai racing. What's it been like this year, Laura?
It's been brilliant. It's been one of the best carnivals I can remember. I think certainly for the internationalisation of the sport. South Korea getting their first win, a first win for Saudi for a couple of years. We've had a success, a little bit limited. We'd like a bit more from South Africa, and it's been a wonderful carnival on the dirt and on the turf. We've had a slightly enhanced turf programme that's been good for the Europeans. I'd say really something for everyone. And of course, I should mention quite a lot of wins for the home team for Godolphin. They had smaller teams out here, didn't affect them. They brought the right horses. They won plenty of races.
Yeah, actually, I was having a chat to Derek Popard, and he said they're very happy because they had a certain expectation which has been exceeded.
Must have been exceeded, yeah. Jungle Cat, of course, goes for Charlie Appleby on the big night. He would have a really good chance. Saib bin Saror was a little bit sort of reserved about his carnival team at the start of the year. He said, I don't really think I've got the horses. But of course, they've actually, the ones he's brought have really turned up and done the goods. The class will shine through, won't it? And we've seen that with Thunder Snow. He looks to be Said's biggest chance of a winner on the big night in the UAE Derby. So Godolphin should be very, very proud of what they've achieved this year.
Look, well, you've brought up a very important issue. The fact that the UAE Derby has won majoritarily by Said bin Saror and Mike de Kock. Between the two of them, I think they've got more scalps than all of the other trainers in the world put together. And, you know, Mike's got a runner now with a legitimate chance if he overcomes his antics, which clearly Malan seems to have done a pretty good job in circumventing.
And having spoken to him, I'm very confident that all will be fine with Fourie on the big night. Obviously, the issue is they've got a load in front of the gates. That was his problem in the Bastic here. There's going to be a lot more people. There's going to be noise, lights, music, whatever. But I think that they've got him in a good place, I think was the phrase that Malan used. So fingers crossed he'll be okay. But the thing about him is we don't know how good he is. Mike clearly thinks he's very good. He doesn't waste money. He wouldn't put him in the race for no good reason. So I think Mike thinks he's got one on his hands. You can certainly run a place, if not topple the favourite. And the more I think about it, the more I think Thunder Snow might just be a little bit vulnerable. But we shouldn't forget what a strong UAE Derby it is. For Tory Kin, he's a bit of a talking horse they brought over from America. From Kenny McPeak, it is a very, very strong race. And of course, you've got the Japanese in there who won it last year.
We're waiting for one, Fourie, who's drawn on the outside of the line. Bernard Fadeherb riding Fourie, who is the international favourite. Those two career starts. Now they're set. Oh, Fourie, the blindfold came off. The starter let them go. Fourie bounced into the gate. Bernard Fadeherb has been left behind, but they are off and racing.
He was seriously uptight. And when they pulled the hood off, he just jumped. And that's what normally happens, unfortunately, when a horse has been schooled with the hood and, the hood goes a fraction off too early. Then, when the horse is there late, he then just goes thinking that he must jump. Yeah, and I think it was quite a traumatic experience for the horse, yeah.
Yeah. So what have you been doing with him since?
Well, look, it's always interesting. It's a whole process. You start off somewhere, and the objective obviously is to get him ready and to be under control and relaxed for World Cup night. So I started off, with a lot of ground control work, and the purpose of ground control is to get him to understand who I am, to have the necessary respect for me, to keep personal space, but for me also to be able to move his feet in all possible directions. And I always remember the principle that, the horses understand in their natural environment that the one that moves the feet is the one in charge. So that was the main objective, the first objective. The second objective then, after getting him under control and getting him relaxed and responding to me, was to take him, in a step-by-step way to the starting stalls. Not beginning with my objective, which means we sort of, got him to the gates and only standing in front of the gates, then gradually loading him, backing him out, desensitizing him for all possible things that might eventually happen on World Cup night, till eventually, we are standing in the starting stalls, being, and I always say, relatively relaxed, but most definitely under control, and actually waiting for us to tell him what to do, not, just making his own decisions and wanting to jump or wanting to back out. And at the end, we had absolutely fantastic results.
That's the thing. No one's talking about Fourie. No one's even said, where is he? I know Mike's been doing a lot of the training on the training track, sort of keeping out the way. He's got ability. We don't know how much. Bernard Fadeherb, of course, multiple Group 1 winning jockey, will have him in the right place at the right time. He's really exciting, probably chiefly because no one's talking about him.
Then, of course, Mubtahij, who's this solid, honest, reliable performer. He was scintillating in the UAE Derby, and Obviously, you can only perform according to the competition in which you're competing. But when he came up against the big guns in America, we realized that he is top Group 2 horses, particularly when you're talking about horses like California Chrome, Arrogate, Opportunity, who he beat last year. He has to have a big money chance this year.
And he was, a nose off winning that first Grade 1, that Grade 1 he so needs over at Saratoga, beaten by Shamangos, who's come back and won another Group 1. So that form looks very, very strong. If you asked me the day after last year's World Cup, I said, I think I even tweeted, I think Mubtahij will win the 2017 Dubai World Cup. Back then we didn't know about a little horse called Arrogate who was going to pop up and change everyone's landscape. So I love the fact that Mubtahij again is flying under the radar a little bit. Mike has him very well. He's very happy with him, so we're told. So he's very exciting. It's just, I'm delighted for the race's sake that we have Arrogate, but for Mubtahij's sake, I wish he wasn't there.
Now, you did a fantastic piece on Mubtahij last year because obviously he broke history by becoming the first horse to run in the Kentucky Derby from Dubai. Has he snuck under the radar this year because he's been seen on such limited occasions?
I think because Mike's so honest about his horses. He said when he came back we weren't happy with how he was moving when he returned it. Came back here quite late as well. That's maybe a bit of a concern, but that run last time was absolutely fantastic behind Ettinger, who subsequently got himself in on the big night. I think Mike's quote was, "I'm doing cartwheels out of the place." If he's happy, you've got to be happy, and they haven't changed anything as far as I'm aware with the horse's prep from then. But yeah, perhaps because he was in America, he wasn't here, and just really he's been overshadowed by these visitors. I think that's why we're not talking about him maybe as much as we should be, because he's a serious Group 1 horse.
Yeah, I reckon at the end of the day his prep may even have been better than last year, because I think they were a little disconsolate with his return to racing last year.
It just took him a while to really, I think, get fully fit, didn't it, last year? Obviously, I think he finished racing in 2015 in about July. Last year he finished racing a lot later on, and subsequently he came back here a lot later. So they perhaps needed to get a bit of a break into him, and then he would have been fitter when he arrived back in Dubai, perhaps. Which meant he didn't need quite such a build-up, but that was such a good run last time, giving all that weight away. He looked like he was going to win it at one point, just got tired, and Christoph was sensible with him. Wouldn't it be fantastic if he could win it for Mike in what has been a record-breaking year for him? I can't see it, but I'd be so happy to be wrong.
Yeah, well, I suppose if you think back to the days of Lizard's Desire, that almost looked as if he'd won the race, and they had to accept that bitter pill in the first running of the Dubai World Cup for $10 million. At least you've got a ticket and you've got a legitimate chance.
It was heartbreaking, wasn't it? It really was heartbreaking. But Mike will be back. I know he's saying, he's got the 3,000 winner now. He's maybe starting to think about winding things down, but he'll always be looking for a Dubai World Cup horse. We know he's got the ability to train when he's gone close, as you say. We all thought Lizard's Desire had won it. Maybe Mubtahij shocks this week. And it sounds actually like, from speaking to Mike earlier on in the season, that the horse will stay in training. Obviously, Sheikh Mohammed bin Khalifa will decide, but were he to stay here and maybe have a different campaign this year, and Mike could really target the World Cup, not beyond the realms of possibility, he'll be back in 2018. But let's not get too far ahead.
Finally, horses like Postponed and Verizabod, they stick out head and shoulders above the rest. Am I anywhere close to the mark there?
Postponed slightly concerns me because of his demeanour prior to that run last time in the City of Gold. He just got buzzy. He didn't look like he particularly wanted to race. I've seen him since several times on the training track. He's looked wonderfully relaxed. He goes out with his stablemate King Ballet every morning. He looks great. He should be the one to beat. They were very happy with that prep race, at least on the face of it. They said, it's a prep race. We're not too fussed. Obviously, they were sort of kept in by prize money, which didn't make things any easier for Andrea Azzini. So hopefully Postponed bounces back. I really like Highland Real as well in the same race. He was disappointing here last year, which worries me, but he's probably a better horse. He could get loose on the front end. A small field will suit him. Ryan Moore on board, I think he's really, really interesting. And looking at the rest of the card, we've got quite a few standouts, haven't we? Verizabod, you mentioned, should be his, but wow, what a really good City of Gold it is. Sheikh Zayed Road will be fitter from his run last time, but I like the way that both the Aga Khan horses have been prepared this year. Alain de Roy Dupre knows exactly what he's doing with them. He's brought them along slowly, and I love Zarak as well in what is a very, very strong Dubai turf. So he's one I'm keen on. Another one that no one seems to be talking about. I can't understand why. He's a proper Group 1 horse, Zarak. Just hasn't won one yet, but that could change on Saturday.
How's your involvement been with Mike this year?
As usual, I'm good friends with Mike, and I've always ridden for him. And to say, obviously this year's been a little bit tough, but it's getting more competitive every year we come back here. But we'll come back next year hopefully with a bigger, stronger team. But look, as I say, he's got two nice horses running on World Cup night. But I think obviously in World Cup race. Arrogate's going to be hard to beat, but Mutaj is going really well, and I think he'll run well, you know.
Forey, obviously, he's very talented, but he's also very quirky. Seems like Malan Du Toit has done a great job in getting him through the starting stalls. What's your gut feel there?
Yeah, look, he's a very talented horse. He's obviously, as you say, I think everyone knows he's not straightforward, but obviously, hopefully, we've sort of ironed out a few problems with him. And look, if everything goes well, you know, it's obviously every race in World Cup night's a tough race, but I think if he behaves himself, no one quite knows how good he is, and he could have a bold shoulder.